Hey, it's Lebo, and we are back on North Star. This is part 6. The last time we were here on part 5, we had took care of the pop bumper caps and polished out some little pieces here. And today, just wanted to kind of pick things back up here. So we've polished out the sling brackets, put new sleeves in there, kept the coils. They were fine, didn't change those. But anyways, just kind of finishing up on the underside of the playfield, polishing out a few other little metal bits and pieces. Came over here to this ball trough, did some polishing on that to kind of clean it up. That one's kind of tough to clean, or tough to really to get the polish out. I spent quite a bit of time on the buffing wheel, and it shined up, not quite as super shiny as I had hoped for, but it's still a lot cleaner. Put a new sleeve on that coil, and basically we are pretty much done on the playfield. Perhaps completely done on the playfield. The top is fine. That was done previously from some of the earlier videos that we went through, and it's wax. It should be ready to go. Only thing, it may be some of the fine-tuning work that once we get this back up and operational, there may be some things like I mentioned about these little kickouts where the coil that I swapped those out. We'll see how it goes. A little bit of fine-tuning there, and then there may be some light sockets that if they're acting up, we're just going to go ahead and replace them. So anyways, let's shift on to the next major phase, and that's this cabinet. So what do we got plans here? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these rails off. Just have to carefully take them out. These nails, they're a spiral type of nail that hold it in, keep the nails from walking out. But because of that, you got to be really careful. Take like a like a paint scraper, or like a really thin sheet of metal, chisel or something. Actually, it's a little bit thick, but something to kind of carefully start walking it out a little bit. And if you can get hold of the head of the nail with a pair of pliers, you can just sort of gently twist it out. So that's going to come off so that I can polish them up really good like we did on Bankaball. If you didn't see that in those series of videos, you got to check those out. But we're going to do that here as well, get that looking as shiny as we can. This lock bar, take a look at all the little fine scratches here. We want all that to go away, so that's going to be, that's going to be a lot of Scotch-Brite, and then buffing on the buffing wheel, and then throw a little bit of Mothers on that and see if we can make that come out really nice. These end caps, they aren't really too bad, but after all the work we're going to do on that, we're going to put brand new ones on. So I've actually got them already here and ready to go. These buttons, you can see the red's already fade out of that, so we've got new buttons we're going to put in there. Of course, the beehive, we got a new one ready to go in. This whole shooting rod, it doesn't need to be replaced, but it will get polished out really nicely. Same thing with the ball lift. Looking in here, the front door looks really actually pretty nice. Well, it's going to get a little bit of some polishing on that. That's going to get a little bit of treatment. The coin plate, same way. It's not bad, but it'll get a little bit of a cleanup job. Same thing on the other rail. And then the other thing is like some of these metal pieces in here, I just like cleaning those up too. It's little stuff. It takes a bit of time. But, when you get it done, it's clean and it looks good. After that, saving the best for last. I keep coming back to this, just shaking my head, and I'm dreading it. Look at all these wires. They got burnt. There was an accident that had happened. And the owner of the game really would like to get this cleaned up. And I've been trying to think about what's the best way to do this. And it's probably just going to have to be replacing some section of wire and just heat shrink tubing it on the end. Right now there's just black tape that's just covering up the damaged area, and the game is entirely working. Right before I started pulling everything apart, everything that I know of was actually working correctly, except there's one thing. There's one coil down here that had a problem, and even the springs that were on the coil was broken, and I've already got new parts for that too. So that's the plan, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. Here we go. Okay, so we got the side rails off, and the glass channel that's in the back, and the plastic channel that's behind the rails. I've got them cleaned off. I'm not going to need to pull them off, at least not to pull them off to clean them, because I was able to clean, number one, the top. There's a couple little spots here I need to finish up, but the main thing is inside the channel, because that's where a lot of the junk gets in, just kind of seeps in from the glass. However, this game wasn't that bad dirty, but I cleaned that out, and the glass will slide even smoother in there. One thing that I will note, when I started taking this side off and kind of inspecting the channel and everything, the channel was fine, but when I got down here really close to the wood, I noticed that we got a little bit of a split area here. So I'm gonna have to try to address that. That's, they get covered up with the rails, and it's, once you throw a nail in, it's not going to be bad, although it might loosen up there a little bit. So we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to try to see if I can persuade a little wood glue into that crevice. Have to pull it up a little bit, get some down in there, clamp this down, and then that should be totally fine. The other thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to have to go ahead and pull the head off. Not that I need anything underneath the head right away, except that when I go putting the rails back on, the nail here, I had the head on and I was able to get it out just with the pliers twisting it out. But when I go putting in the rails back in, I'm going to want to be able to hammer that directly on. And the other thing, this head's got to come off anyways, because I've got the power cord here, and we're going to be replacing the power cord with a grounded cord. And that's one thing that I failed to mention earlier with the whole plan of the cabinet. In addition to the cleaning and addressing the nightmare, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to add the ground strap. That's what I love to do on these EM machines. It's just try to do a neat job with it, but the whole point is just to take away chances of just shock. And it's awful, because I don't know why they didn't start doing that until a lot later, but they didn't. And they've learned, and I'm applying what some of the newer games have done. And so basically I'll just be running I've got a braided strap that I'll be running around the touch, basically all the metal parts, like the legs, come up here to the receiver, and it will also when it comes to the receiver, that will conduct through the lock bar, and we'll also get it tied into the side rails. But as we come around into this proximity over here, right here in the transformer, this is right where the power cord comes in. And so we'll be tying a ground. We'll just use one of these little spots right here, and then that ground wire will actually go there. It works perfectly fine on all the games that I've done it that way. I've had no problems at all. It's worked really well, and that's actually the same way that I've seen production pinball machines done, that were done with an actual ground. So here we go. Okay, so we got the Scotch-Brite done to take out some of the heavy scratches. Of course, it puts in a very fine set of scratches in here, which, is this brushed look. And that's how I actually normally do like coin doors and these side rails. It looks pretty good and kind of helps camouflage other little scratches in the future a little bit. But what we're going for on this game is a polished out look. So next up for this is I'm going to be putting on the buffing wheel and trying to get some, even more luster out of this. It takes a while. What I learned on Bankable, this one piece is probably going to be at least an hour, a little longer, but that's all right. It'll turn out nice. But before I do that, one thing I noticed, I think I mentioned this a little while ago, that we had this a little bit of this cracked wood, and because we're getting late at night and I'm probably going to be crashing for a bit until I pick it up the next day, I'm going to go ahead and try to throw a little wood glue in there. So let's take care of that. All right, so the way I'm going to try approaching this is very carefully. Found the split in the wood. We're going to pry it upward a little bit just to hold things for a minute. There we go. The flat blade screwdriver in place. And now I'm going to take some wood glue, and I grabbed some Q-tips, some toothpicks, just because I'm going to use that. I mean, I guess I could take a brush or something, but this is something that should work. So let's see what we can do here. Start just getting this in there. Once we get it down and squeeze it, it'll start oozing out, but trying to make sure we get as much covered in there as we can. And really I want to get close to where that nail hole is going to be, because that's where it's really going to see a little bit of stress to try to pry it back open. And so anything we can do to kind of help with that would be a good thing. The deeper we're getting down here, the harder it is for me to get anything in there. But it's going. Alright. Actually, I'm going to try this too. Just a little bit of repeated pressure, smearing that in. Help push some of it into the crack a little. Alright, let's see here. Okay, let's pull the screwdriver out. Let's go all the way down. All right, so now I've got one of these quick grips. Let's see if we can get just a little bit of pressure in here. Come on. Go. Try not to put too much because I don't want to crack that channel, because I'm pointing to replace it. And actually, I'm not sure if I can get it. You know, I get a lot of the stuff for EM machines from Pinball Resource. It's a great place to get it. You got a lot of stuff that's hard to find in other places, so I'm thankful for that. But anyways, all right. I'm going to call it a night. I'll let that dry, and we'll pick it up tomorrow. Thanks for watching.